The room was already charged with emotion before Ashanti and Nelly even walked in, but the moment Kenashia Douglas, affectionately known as ShiShi, stepped forward to reveal her baby's gender, the atmosphere shifted into something almost unreal. Family members held their breath, phones were raised like glowing lanterns, and whispers rippled across the space as people waited for that one defining announcement. It wasn't just a gender reveal, it was a long-awaited moment of joy for a woman who had lived through her share of heartbreak and transformation. A few fans online, who claimed to have insiders close to the Douglas family, reported that ShiShi had been glowing all week, dropping subtle hints on social media that something special was coming, but no one expected her to boldly step into the spotlight with such confidence. When she finally pulled the cord and a cloud of pink confetti burst into the air, the room erupted. People screamed, jumped, cried. This wasn't a delicate celebration. It was an explosion of pure relief and happiness. And in the middle of it, ShiShi stood smiling, one hand on her belly, the other wiping away a tear. Ashanti rushed straight toward her sister, arms wide open, ignoring every camera and every phone pointed their way. She wrapped her in a long embrace, rocking her gently like they were kids again. Those close enough to catch the audio heard Ashanti whisper, "You are the light of this family." That single sentence spread across social platforms within minutes, with fans reposting it as a symbol of sisterhood, survival, and the power of quiet support. Many commenters said they felt emotional just watching the clip, even without knowing the full backstory. And then came the part everyone is still talking about. Right after the confetti settled, ShiShi addressed the crowd with a soft but firm tone, saying she would not reveal the identity of her baby's father. She insisted she wanted to keep her relationship private because, in her own words, the internet will try to mess it up. That statement alone sent shockwaves through the room. The audience went silent for a moment, not out of judgment, but because the honesty was raw, unexpected, and deeply relatable. Within minutes, Twitter became a battleground of theories. Some fans claimed they already knew who the father allegedly was. Others defended ShiShi's choice to stay private, praising her for protecting her peace after everything she has endured. Several gossip accounts tried to run with rumored storylines, but most fans shut it down, saying they respected her decision and were more focused on celebrating the new baby girl than chasing unnecessary drama. Meanwhile, Ashanti and Nelly's entrance didn't go unnoticed. The couple, who have been riding high on a wave of love, marriage, and family milestones, were immediately surrounded by cameras. Reporters described their presence as sweet but commanding, like they knew how much this moment meant for the family and wanted to show up in full support. Nelly was reportedly in great spirits, greeting everyone with hugs and jokes, while Ashanti stayed glued to her sister, both hands cradling ShiShi's baby bump. The most touching moment, according to those who witnessed it firsthand, came when Ashanti kissed her sister's forehead and said she hoped motherhood would bring ShiShi the peace she had always deserved. That gesture alone made several people in the room tear up. Fans who saw the clips online said they could feel the love through the screen, and many commented that the Douglas sisters always show up for each other in ways the public rarely sees. But despite the love, the celebration, and the confetti-stained floor, something else lingered in the air: curiosity. The decision to keep the father's identity private wasn't just unusual, it was a bold stand in a culture obsessed with knowing everything. It created a sense of mystery, a piece of the story left intentionally incomplete. Even with all the joy surrounding the baby girl's reveal, people couldn't stop analyzing the tone of ShiShi's voice when she said she didn't want the internet involved. As the event continued, the emotions only intensified. Music played softly in the background, kids ran around grabbing pieces of pink confetti, and family members posed for photos. Yet, even with all the celebration happening around them, Ashanti stayed locked into protective big sister mode. She barely left ShiShi's side, making sure she ate, drank water, and had a seat whenever she needed it. Nelly, on the other hand, entertained guests nearby, giving the sisters their moment while still holding the room with his natural charisma. But just when everything seemed to be winding down, just when people started gathering their things and saying their goodbyes, ShiShi glanced over at Ashanti with a look. One of those looks siblings give each other when something serious is on their mind but they're not ready to say it out loud. The change in her expression was small, barely noticeable, but it was real enough to pause Ashanti mid-sentence. She squeezed her sister's hand and ShiShi squeezed back, almost too tightly. And that's where the questions began. What exactly was that look for? Why did the joy on ShiShi's face shift so suddenly? And what was she trying to tell Ashanti without speaking? Because according to those in the room, that moment didn't feel like excitement. It felt like the start of something else. A secret, a worry, a revelation waiting to surface. The moment that unspoken tension flashed across Kenashia's face, Ashanti instinctively knew something wasn't as lighthearted as the pink confetti floating around them. A few witnesses reported that Ashanti stepped in closer, whispering something like, "You okay?" while gently brushing her sister's hair behind her ear. ShiShi simply nodded, insisting she was fine, but her smile was suddenly different, smaller, tighter, and holding more weight than before. It was the kind of smile that hides questions, pressure, or even fear. And fans who rewatched the viral clip pointed it out immediately, claiming they felt the emotional shift through the screen. Still, ShiShi wasn't about to let her moment be overshadowed. She grabbed the microphone again and thanked everyone for coming, her voice a little softer now, but still steady. She expressed gratitude for all the support she'd received from fans, explaining that the love she felt online helped her reconnect with joy after a long period of struggle. It was a subtle acknowledgement of her past, a past many fans recall involved heartbreak, emotional wounds, and a highly publicized chapter of pain. But even as she spoke, the crowd could sense she wasn't just thanking them, she was leaning on them. Ashanti stood behind her, hands clasped, eyes full of worry masked by a supportive smile. And next to her, Nelly shifted a little closer, catching the vibe and giving a reassuring nod. Those who saw the moment said it felt like the family moved as one unit, silently promising to protect her through whatever came next. Several guests later posted that the energy in that room went from celebration to something deeper, a gathering that wasn't just about a baby girl's reveal, but about surrounding ShiShi with strength. Then, in a brief private moment caught only by someone who happened to be filming at the right angle, ShiShi leaned into Ashanti's shoulder. Her lips moved quietly, and while no one could hear what she said, fans online claimed to have read her mouth say, "I'm nervous." Whether that's accurate or just speculation, the video spread fast, sparking conversations about exactly what she might be nervous about. Was it motherhood? The secrecy surrounding the father? The fear of her past being dragged up again? Nobody knew, and the mystery only made the moment more gripping. Trying to lift the mood, Nelly stepped forward and cracked a gentle joke about already shopping for baby sneakers the moment he heard it was a girl. The room laughed, and for a moment the tension broke. Ashanti gently rubbed her sister's back, grounding her with small gestures of love. Still, fans online argued that something in ShiShi's posture looked off. Shoulders slightly curled in, her hand gripping her belly a little too tightly like she was protecting more than just the baby. The after-party footage added another layer. While most guests were chatting, dancing, and enjoying the celebration, ShiShi slipped away to a quieter corner. Ashanti followed within seconds, her instincts refusing to let her sister sit in silence. People nearby overheard bits and pieces, ShiShi mentioning she didn't want pressure, that she didn't want the internet to twist things, and that she wanted a clean start for her daughter. These remarks only fueled fans' belief that keeping the father's identity secret might not just be a preference, but a necessary boundary tied to something deeper. When they returned to the center of the room, Ashanti kept an arm around her sister's waist the entire time, a gesture that fans later described as both protective and symbolic. It reminded viewers of how fiercely Ashanti stepped in during past hardships, and how she always stands by ShiShi when the world becomes too loud. The bond between them softened the whole atmosphere again, reminding everyone that family isn't just blood, it's sanctuary. But the night didn't end quietly. As guests prepared to leave, someone handed ShiShi a small box wrapped in rose print paper. She opened it slowly, revealing tiny gold-plated baby bracelets engraved with the name she had already chosen but hadn't announced publicly. The room gasped, her eyes filled with tears, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming realization that her little girl was about to inherit a legacy of love, protection, and strength. Still, that protective instinct grew sharper. She immediately closed the box and asked gently that no one take pictures of it. And just when everyone thought the emotional waves were done, ShiShi stepped onto the small stage one last time. With pink confetti still scattered on the floor, she took a slow breath and said she hoped every woman out there, whether single, partnered, private, or public, would find happiness in their journey and protect their peace fiercely. She added that motherhood was already teaching her to move with intention, not fear. Fans said it felt like she was speaking directly to both her past self and the world watching her rebuild. But as the guests filed out and the lights dimmed, a few people noticed that Ashanti and Nelly pulled ShiShi aside for one final private conversation. The tone looked serious, steady eye contact, hands held, comforting gestures, but no audio was captured. The clip has since sparked countless theories. Some believe they were offering guidance, others think ShiShi revealed something she wasn't ready to share publicly. Whatever was said shifted everything. Because when ShiShi walked out of that venue, her expression carried a different kind of calm. The calm that comes after a truth is spoken behind closed doors. And from the way Ashanti clung to her sister's hand, it's clear the story isn't finished.